Hey, Mike Wilson down in Alabama. I promised people from my church, family, and friends that during the quarantine period, I would share some thoughts and some stories with them. So here's my thought for the week. It comes out of Matthew, the 11th chapter. Jesus speaking says, "Come unto me, all you who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest." I love this. There's no qualifiers, no exceptions, no gotcha moments, nothing you have to give to get. You just have to come. That's what Jesus is offering here. All of you who are weary and heavy laden, I'll give you rest. Now, I have a few dozen stories I can share with you about situations like this, but I'm just going to share 3 with you. Of course, I have to condense the stories for time, and I'm going to change the names of the people as I tell these stories. The first story I want to share with you took place not long after I got out of Bible school. My wife and I moved back to Ohio, where I came from, and I was working at a church part-time. But really, for my income, I worked outside the church. And I wound up working in the oil field. That's where, you want to go if you're fresh out of Bible school. Go work in the oil field. Well, really, it was a good area for me to work in. My brother worked there. A lot of my friends that I went to high school with, a year or two older than me, my age, were working in the oil field. And it paid good. And so I was working in the oil field. I eventually wound up working on a 3rd shift job with guys that I didn't go to school with, not my brother, just some other people. Now, one guy I was familiar with. I'll call him Eric the Red. He looked like a Viking. He was a huge guy. He rode a Harley, and he had a history of being an outlaw biker. I remember one of the first nights I worked with him, he pulled up on his Harley. He was running a few minutes late. He usually ran a little late. But he was running a few minutes late, and he came up, and he was just laughing. And I go, "Eric, what's up, brother?" And he said, "Man, I just shot out all the windows of these cars." He was at a concert up in Cleveland. Said when he left, he just hauled off and started shooting out windows and took off up the highway, and cops couldn't catch him. I thought it was pretty funny. I thought he was making up a story, Next day, I get the Plain Dealer, the newspaper, and it says, "Crazed biker shoots out windows of vehicles." It's like, okay. Now, he did have a short fuse. He was bigger than everybody else. He was stronger than everybody else. And he had a shorter temper than anybody else that we worked with. So a lot of guys were a little leery of him, needless to say. Now, we worked together for a period of time. I was really nice to him. And we had a good time. Actually, he rode his bike to work every night. I drove my car, but we lived really close to each other. And we were working almost an hour away from where we lived. Winter started setting in. He came up to me one day and he goes, "Mike, I'm going to start riding with you. I can't take my bike down these icy roads in the winter." It's like, come on. We had colorful conversations. His part was colorful. Over the weeks and months as we drove to work together during the wintertime. But we became friends. We had a friendship that was brewing. He'd ask me every once in a while about my life and why did I go to Bible school, and a few God questions here and there. One night we're driving to work, and he was sitting next to me in the passenger seat, and all of a sudden, he starts heaving, weeping heavily, crying. And I thought something was going on with his family. Something tragic maybe happened. And I said, "Brother, what's going on, man?" And he's crying. He says, "God can never forgive me. God can never forgive me." Just weeping, sobbing, working hard to get those statements out. And I was like, "What? What are you talking about?" And he goes, "God can never forgive me. I've killed people." I'd never heard that before. We were riding, we pull over, and I talk to him. And I talk about the love of God, the forgiveness of God, the grace of God. I talk him off the ledge. "Come unto me, all you who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest." That's what he needed. Man, he connected with Jesus after a period of time of riding back and forth, him asking me God questions and Jesus questions, and we really had a good friendship going. I remember one night, though, I was at work, and he had lost his temper. And people started yelling my name. I come around the corner, he's got some guy, he's shaking him like he's going to snap him in half because of what he said to him, to Eric. And Eric was like trembling. And I walk up and said, brother, relax now. Relax. Don't do anything you'll regret. Don't do anything he'll regret you doing to him. And he's shaking, and he looks at the guy and he goes, I tell you what you need. He said, you need Jesus. You better talk to Mike. And then he pushed him toward me and walked away. I was like, yes, hi. How can I help you? Come unto me, all you who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Another story I have for you, I was working at a huge church, and it was my day to catch counseling. And so I was in my office and got buzzed from the secretary. She said, we have a lady up here who wants to speak to one of the pastors. And she said, are you available? I said, of course, send her back. So I go out in the hall and I meet the lady, and we come walking in my office and we sit down and I start talking to her. And as I start to talk to her, she opens up her purse and she pulls out a big wad of cash and rolls it over on the desk. And she said, I wanted to give this to God, and because I need help. Well, you know, you can't buy the grace and the mercy of God, the goodness of God, the love of God. She didn't know that. She didn't go to church. She just was desperate. Come unto me, all you who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. I talked to her for a few moments, and I found out that she was a stripper, hooker. She had children. She'd been abused emotionally, sexually for a lifetime. And she was desperate, needing relief, rest. I talked to her and I said, you know, all this money here, this is your rent, right? Yeah. I said, this is your food money, right? For you take care of your kids, yeah. I said, just take it back. You don't need to buy anything here today. Whatever God has for you, He's giving it to you freely. So we had this long conversation, and it was tragic. And she cried and wept, and we prayed and just gave her an image of a God that loved her, that was for her, that wanted to give her relief from the turmoil that her life had become. It was a great day. It was a great day. We got done praying and connecting with Jesus, and she was just feeling the joy of the Lord coming into her life, literally. And I said, by the way, how did you end up here today? I don't know why I asked the question. And she said, well, you know, I was thinking of all the religions in the world. And she said, then I thought of Jesus. Now, my boyfriend, he likes to wear dresses and dress like a girl. And Jesus wore dresses and dressed like a girl. So I thought he'd be the guy that I need to connect with. You know what I was thinking? Never heard that one before. And I have never heard it since. Well, I had a lot of explaining to do. We had more conversations because I started laughing and she wondered what was so funny, and we had a long talk. Well, the amazing thing is she wound up being connected with the church. We had a lady in our church who had come out of that lifestyle years before that. And we hooked those two up together. And eventually it brewed into a ministry where they had a lot of girls who had lived that lifestyle that wound up coming to church and connecting with this group of women as they came and found liberty and freedom from the weariness and the heaviness of life. It was a great time. I had a campus church. I've had a couple of them. And I had a campus church, and I was speaking one day, and at the end of the service one Sunday morning, this gentleman comes down. I opened it up for prayer, and this gentleman comes down, and I'll call him Wesley. He looked like Wesley Snipes. I mean, he was strong and shaved head. Came down there, and I said, man, what can I do for you? And he starts weeping. I mean, crying uncontrollably. And between his sobs, he tells me that week he went to the doctor and he had some form of cancer in his stomach, and they didn't know if it was operable or not. It had progressed to a stage 4 situation, and he was in dire straits. Come unto me, all you who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. I'll supply an answer. I'm going to give you help. I prayed with him. I prayed for God to touch his body, to heal him. I prayed the most faith-filled prayer I could possibly pray. And then I just kept checking with him. Every week he'd come to church. I'd call him up during the week. After about a month, he went in for another checkup, went through all the exams, came out. They couldn't find any cancer at all in his body. It was gone. The mass they had seen before was not visible. Wow. It's a miracle. So he's connected with the church. Yeah, I'm learning about him. I don't know his life. But one night he calls me about 2 a.m. He calls me, Pastor Mike. He says, man, I got a coffee table full of cocaine. I don't want to use it. I don't want to distribute it. I want to get rid of it. Can you help me? I said, yeah. I'm on my way over his house. I get there. On the way there, I'm praying, God, please don't let the cops kick in the door while I'm handling cocaine. Because he wants me to flush it down the toilet. I get there and I'm rounding up all this cocaine, taking it to the toilet, flushing. Man, he's freaked out, man, because he owes dealers money. He owes people money. That was his income for the month. All kinds of things. We sat down and prayed. Come unto me, all you who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. It doesn't matter how messed up you are or what messed up things you've done. There are no qualifiers or exceptions. Come unto me. Come unto me. Well, God worked it out, for his life. Just miracle after miracle, awesome thing after awesome thing. God took care of the brother. Come unto me, all you who are weary and heavy laden, and I'll give you rest. What are you weary about? What are you stressed about? Is it the coronavirus? Is it the loss of work, the potential loss of income in the future? This is Jesus here with eternal words. Come unto me, all you who are weary and heavy laden, and I'll give you rest. Let me read what it says in the Message Bible. It says, are you tired, worn out, burned out? Come to me, get away with me, and you'll recover your life. I'll show you how to take a real rest. Walk with me and work with me. Watch how I do it. Learn the unforced rhythms of grace. I won't lay anything heavy or ill-fitting on you. Keep company with me, and you'll learn to live freely and lightly. Go to him and find your rest. That's my thought for the week.